The Committee on Appropriations and Adjudication calls this public hearing to order. It is now 2:01 p.m. on Thursday, December 6, 2018. Present with me today is Senator Fernando Esteves. The purpose of this public hearing is to receive testimony on Bill number 374-34 COR, introduced by myself. It's an act to amend Section 24103 of Chapter 24, Title 11, Guam Code Annotated, relative to clarifying the additional tax levy on real property improvements valued at $1 million or more. We are also going to have a public hearing on Bill number 381-34 LS, introduced by myself. It's an act to amend myself, Thomas Sieta, an act to amend Section 8, Chapter 11 of Public Law 34-116, and to appropriate $298,536 from the general fund to the Guam Election Commission relative to paying expenditures related to the 2018 primary and general elections. Notice of this afternoon's public hearing was provided to senators, stakeholders, and the local media outlets via electronic format on Thursday, September 29, 2018, and on Monday, December 3, 2018, thus meeting the requirements of the open government law. The committee will continue to receive written testimony for the next 10 days. Please address testimonies to the office of Senator Thomas Sieta, Chairperson, Committee of Appropriation and Adjudication. Testimonies can also be delivered to the mailbox here at the legislature or emailed to coaa.staff@guamlegislature.org. So for our first bill, will be bill number 374-34. That is the act to provide clarifying language to the relative to the additional tax levy on real property improvements valued at $1 million or more. I have written testimony from the Bureau of Budget. I want to go ahead and read it into the record. This is from the acting director for Bureau of Budget, Mr. Lester Carlson. In his testimony, he states he would Bill 374-34 COR seeks to administratively amend the law by inserting the words "or more" after the minimum threshold value of $1,000 for land, or $1 million for land improvements. This technical change will enable the Department of Revenue and Tax to levy tax on land improvements valued at $1 million or more. Such action will fix the initial intent of the tax levy to support government operations, avoid any tax challenges that may occur if such tax levy is above the exact amount of $1 million, and would greatly enhance the collection efforts of DRT to meet the adopted revenue level of $38,300,000 for the Territorial Education Facilities Fund. Failure to amend the current language will adversely impact educational departments and agencies that depend on TEFF funding, like the Guam Department of Education, Guam Commission on Educator Certification, the Guam Public Library System, Guam Educational Telecommunications Corporation, and the Department of Public Works Bus Operations. In this regard, the Bureau fully concurs with this proposed legislation and fully supports its passage by the 34th Guam Legislature. Signing up for to testify on Bill 374 is Senator Robert Klitsky, and you want to provide oral testimony, Senator. So please step forward. I also have a Thomas San Agustin. Okay. Are you from GEC? So maybe you want to provide testimony on, actually you want to provide testimony on Bill 381, correct? Okay, so we'll dispose of 374 first. Please.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman, Senator. Before I start, I would like to make an in limine correction to my testimony, changing the bill number from 357 to 374 wherever it appears, making that correction by interlineation. And I'm also here this afternoon as opposed to this morning, as I've indicated in my testimony. Otherwise, I would hope that my testimony is error-free, Mr. Chairman. Honorable Chairman Tom Atta and members of the Committee on Environment, Land, Agriculture, and Procurement Reform, I appear this morning to provide begrudging support to Bill 374. Only qualified support can be offered because fiscal symmetry requires a condition precedent, the repeal of 1 GCA section 1000 subsection C, which reads, in addition to the holidays specified in subsection A of this section, the Magatlahin Guahan may declare by executive order additional non-permanent holidays for special purposes. No holiday declared by executive order shall be continued beyond the year in which the executive order is issued. In deference to my penchant for brevity, the Calvo administration's attempts to shock you into the tax increase, which is the subject of this and other bills, will not be restated here. Suffice it to say that Governor Calvo did his best to convince us that our island is a gnat's whisker away from fiscal Armageddon. On November 23rd, also known as Black Friday, Governor Calvo irreparably impeached his own credibility by spending about $1 million for nothing. The fact that the governor was acting within his legal authority did not silence the uttering of cui bono. The obvious pandering to government employees was disrespectful to those stuck with the new taxes, that is, those who work in our visitor industry, most of which is a 24/7 undertaking, not affording many employees even Thanksgiving off, much less the day after. The flawed social policy embodied in the Black Friday holiday, or maybe Red Friday is more appropriate in this case. You'll notice in the margin the explanation is that Black Friday term came about in 1981 because old accounting methods called for recording profits in black and losses in red. And at one time, Black Friday was the day that many businesses became profitable for the first time in a year, in the entire year. So rather than call what we had here the day after Thanksgiving Black Friday, probably should have been called Red Friday under those rules. The flawed social policy embodied in Black Friday pales in comparison to its fiscal profligacy. The fix is to repeal 1 GCA section 1000 subsection C. No governor should have the ability to stick us with $1 million bill for nothing. As indicated above, my unconditional support of this bill depends on the repeal. However, since the Lieutenant Governor Juan Pat Ten's salary smash and grab of November 21, 2014 the kind of parliamentary acrobatics necessary to repeal the offending statute and protect us from the next danger point is no longer politically possible. The next danger point, of course, is December 24, which is a Monday, the day before Christmas. It would be nice to have repealed the offending section before that, but as per my testimony, I know that's no longer a possibility. No governor should have the ability to stick us with $1 million bill for nothing. Anything costing $1 million should be a creature of statute, not the stroke of the governor's pen. The regular processes of this august body lend themselves well to such an undertaking, immunizing the tax-paying public from spur-of-the-moment, short-noticed diktats. Unfortunately, the governor's irresponsible action of November 23 was contagious. The contagion affecting not only taxpayers, but ratepayers also. According to CCU Chairman Joey Duenas, general managers of the two utilities took it upon themselves to give employees the day off, except for those who received a day's pay for performing their regular duties. The CCU has repeatedly asserted its autonomy, thus the apparent necessity not to rely on the governor's executive order to authorize the Black Friday holiday. The CCU finally authorized the Black Friday holiday giveaway days after it occurred. With respect to this administration, urging the repeal of 1 GCA section 1000 subsection C as I do herein is a classic case of locking the barn door after the horse has escaped. Thus, my support for this bill is qualified as it is. This legislature or the next would be doing taxpayers, ratepayers, and future governors a huge favor by repealing 1 GCA section 1000. The CCU would not have to bear the shaming arising from utilities employees decrying their not being treated as well as, quote, other GovGuam employees. Governors would have political cover for not doing what Governor Calvo did for us employees. It'd be very easy for the governor to say, I can't do it. The law was changed. Taxpayers and ratepayers' morale could improve from the knowledge that GovGuam employees will no longer be pandered to in this way. I disagree with the Attorney General opinion, re the two missing words. Several theories of statutory construction, the least of which being the doctrine of absurdity, would have provided a different result. As an example, consider the 21-year-old partygoer being turned away by a bouncer standing in front of a sign reading, "You must be 21 to enter," turning that partygoer away because he's 22 instead of 21. It's the same logic. All who have been following the battle of the budget, even anti-tax increasers, as you were anti-tax increase voters like the undersigned, comprehend the necessity to act from an abundance of caution in order to provide a balanced budget. I therefore endorse the addition of, quote, or more, close quote, to the law by means of this bill. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you very much, Senator Klitsky. First of all, I mean, you are certainly well aware about the construction of legislation, and it would seem that if this language that you're proposing, or the amendment that you're proposing, be included in the bill, then it certainly could be debated as to the germaneness of this, so it would probably have to be introduced in a different bill.
Yes.
Okay. All right, so you do agree that?
I do agree. In times gone by, such a thing might have been possible, but no longer. The legislature clearly has the power to amend this bill in such a manner, but I think the political climate now is such that it would not be a good idea.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much. And I just want to state that with respect to Bill 374-34, I stated earlier that testimonies, we will continue to receive written testimony for the next 10 days. It would actually have to be by noon time on December 10th, because the legislature goes into session December 10th, and the committee will move to report this out and make the effort to put it on the agenda next week. So I want to cut short the time that's normally given for written testimony. Senator, did you have any questions?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Senator, just curious on the statement within your testimony. Understand you disagree with the Attorney General's opinion, and I just wanted to request a bit more explanation with regards to theories on statutory construction, and only being because if the requirement is that we need to add the word "or more," could it very well be interpreted in some circles that without that type of language, it could also in reverse be constituted as maybe $1 million or less? Do you think that the Attorney General's opinion might be important to prevent the need to kind of dig into what the interpretation or legislative intent was?
Well, I disagree with the Attorney General's opinion on the basis of what is referred to as statutory construction. I agree with the chairman's initiative in moving this bill forward, because the only way that I could be proven right in my particular interpretation would be if the tax collector asserted that tax on a tax liability of $1,000,001 and the taxpayer challenged it. We could spend a couple of years up and down the judicial system. I'd more than likely be proven right at the end. However, I think in this particular case, I would rather see a balanced budget than being proven right in the courts. So I think the committee's on the right track here, or the chairman's on the right track here with this bill. I hope that answers your question.
It does, and you know, thank you for the testimony. And you know, I'd just like to add the record. I'm happy as well that this bill is being submitted for correction in a public forum to be heard on the floor. Even though you know I disagree in property taxes altogether, but I'm glad and I agree with you that we're making the corrections necessary to balance the budget. Thank you for your testimony. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Senator. Senator Lee? None. Okay. Well, with that, then we'll consider. No one else has signed up to provide testimony. We'll consider Bill 374-34 as having been duly heard. Thank you very much, Senator Klitsky.
You're welcome.
We'll now hear Bill number 381-34 LS. It's an act to amend Section 8, Chapter 11 of Public Law 34-116, and to appropriate $298,536 from the general fund to the Guam Election Commission relative to paying the expenditures related to the 2018 primary and general elections. And I just want to take a moment to show that this amount of $201,000+ is basically, well, to be appropriated from the general fund, but that money is coming from by reducing the amount that was earlier appropriated for the Guam Retirement Security Plan by reducing that by that amount of $201,464. And so then that decreased amount will then be redistributed over to supplement the budget of the Guam Election Commission. So with that, I have Mr. Thomas San Augustine from the GEC. Please identify yourself and your capacity at the Election Commission.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. My name is Tom San Augustine. I'm a program coordinator at the Guam Election Commission. First of all, Director Pangilinan would like to convey her apologies for not attending the meeting today, as she is off island attending a conference in Kentucky. However, she would like me to read out her statement before you. Okay, if I may.
Please proceed.
Hafide, Mr. Chairman. Sizuas Maasi for introducing Bill 381-380-34 and the opportunity to submit written testimony, as I have planned to listen while attending the meeting of a Council of State Governments in Covington, Kentucky. The Guam Election Commission respectfully requests your positive consideration of GEC's supplemental budget request for fiscal year 2018, unanimously approved at a public meeting of the Commission on November 15, 2018, for $298,536 to cover 2018 primary, special, and general election expenses and the reappointment of GEC personnel. The GEC incurred unbudgeted costs for FY18 for the 2018 primary and special elections, to include the use of Department of Education facilities, services rendered by the Guam Police Department, precinct official meals on election day, programming and production of the third ballot for the special election for the Office of the Public Auditor, and other costs relative to administering the special election concurrent with the primary election. As a result, the GEC supplemental budget request includes funding for unpaid prior year obligations. Unbudgeted costs were also incurred in FY19 for the 2018 general election. The GEC prioritized payments for precinct officials, poll maintenance workers, and services rendered by private vendors. The Guam Election Commission comes before you to also respectfully request funding for reappointments of GEC staff in an effort to protect the institutional collective knowledge and experience gained from the conduct of elections since 2004. The current GEC staff has worked cohesively and truly as a team, as evidenced by the 2018 election. 7 employees have begun a national certification program for election administration, with 2 set to finish by May 2019. All but 3 of the newest employees are notaries, and over half have earned college degrees. A copy of the request is enclosed in reference. Additional information will be promptly submitted if you request it. Sizuas Maasi, Center Monte Mayor Pangilinan.
Thank you very much. So attached to the testimony basically is that then it's requesting an additional $98,000 additional appropriation for personnel for fiscal year 2019, an additional $90,000 to supplement the operations account, and unpaid 2018 primary election expenses in the amount of $110,000. Adding all that up comes up to approximately about $298,500. Senator Esteves, did you have any questions? Senator Lee? I don't have any further questions. So with that, we'll go ahead and we'll consider Bill number 381-34 LS as having been duly heard. And with no further testimonies to be provided, and we have exhausted our agenda, this public hearing by the Committee on Appropriations and Adjudication is hereby adjourned. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.